And now, may call on Rotarian Miguel Lapalin to introduce our guest speaker.
Good evening, fellow Rotarians, guests, friends, Rotarian titos and titas. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest speaker for tonight. He told me to keep it short, so I will try my best. He took up his elementary and high school studies at Xavier School and finished his undergraduate degree in international relations at the London School of Economics. He went on to study law at the University of the Philippines College of Law and earned his Master's of Law degree from the Harvard Law School. He was the representative of Aurora Province for 9 years before he was elected senator in 2013. He is the chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee, where he is the leading voice in pushing for income tax reform to make the system of taxation more equitable and progressive. He also sponsored the laws increasing the tax exemption ceiling of workers' 13th month pay and other benefits, especially to our OFWs. Aside from being a legislator, he is a lawyer, a law professor, and a column writer. He is married with three children. He is a loving husband. He is also a family friend and a good friend. Help me introduce one of our top performing senators of the Republic of the Philippines. Help me welcome Senator Angara.
Salamat, Board Member Miguel Magpale. Thank you. Please take your seats. Thank you very much. What a privilege to be introduced by an up-and-coming legislator here in the province of Cebu. So maraming salamat. I went to law school with Board Member Miguel's older brother. So that gives you an indication. Yeah, I guess I would fall in the Tito category. Anyway, very good evening to everybody here. Allow me to greet some of our officials, Rotary officials here at the two presidential tables, led by your current president, Mr. Bernard Sia, and his wife, Cres. Your incoming president, my fraternity brother from the UP Law Sigma Rho fraternity, Mr. Billy Chavez of PhilHealth, and his wife, Katrina, who's also here. To Mayan Solomon, District Governor, and her husband, Tito. Of course, to Board Member Miguel Mix Magpale and his wife, Christine. To Mr. Ed and Sally Chombian, Dr. Babe Panopio. I'm sorry. Papagalit na ba yung staff ko dito sa sinulat niya? He might, from now on, he might prefer to be called Babe after this speech. I understand there's also some officials from the Rotary Club of Manila. I was privileged to be their guest. President Ted Ocampo. I remember speaking before eminent gentlemen of Rotary Manila last year. I understand there are also members of the diplomatic corps here present. I'd like to greet them, members of the media, and of course, Rotarians, their families, ladies and gentlemen. Very good evening to all of you. I'm not a Rotarian. I was a member of the JCs. And they say the natural progression is to join the Rotary. So maybe I'll join your ranks when I'm less busy with legislative work. My father is a Rotarian, but many of you know him. I think Mayan's father is close to him. But he's a lawmaker. He has been one of our longest serving lawmakers. He was in the Senate for 4 terms, 23 years. But I understand he broke a very cardinal rule of Rotary, which is that you can only be a member of one club. He is a member of Rotary Manila, and he's also a member of Rotary Makati. If anyone wants to expel him, no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Anyway, guys, thank you for inviting me. It's a big honor to speak before such an eminent group. Allow me to congratulate your new member, Mr. Frederick Regotash. I'm sorry if there's any pronunciation errors there, like earlier. But congratulations, I already feel the camaraderie between the new and the existing members. So congratulations, Mr. Regotash. In a few days, ladies and gentlemen, we turn over a new chapter in our history as a nation. Longtime Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte will be sworn in as the 16th President of the Republic of the Philippines. With him, he enters a new administration that will guide the country through some auspicious and challenging times. We anticipate some deep transformations. Many of us are preparing for them, and surely most of us want things to turn out for the best. But while we wait for the actual shape and substance of these transformations, we should not disregard or overturn whatever good the country has already gained in this administration, the outgoing administration, as well as in previous administrations. The task at hand is to ensure that the momentum for reform that started with the outgoing administration continues with the next administration. The task at hand is to band together, despite our differences. Elections are over, and to rally behind the cause of continuously improving and strengthening the country. The task at hand is to build on and expand from what we, as a nation, have already achieved. In the past 6 years, we have achieved much across different sectors. As early as 2013, Ruchir Sumar, the chief global strategist of Morgan Stanley Investment Management, wrote in his book that the Philippines was no longer a joke along the so-called Tiger Road of East and Southeast Asia. After describing how we remain the undisputed laggard of Asia and a nation mired in chronic incompetence for decades, Sumar wrote that in 2012, the Philippines looked poised to resume a period of strong growth. Per his analysis, the foremost factor in this turnaround was the election of President Benigno Aquino III, who enlisted just enough electoral support to generate just enough reform momentum to get the job done. There were immediate results. Several competent technocrats were delegated power over key cabinet portfolios within a year of being sworn in. The Aquino administration was already ahead of its own targets in reducing government's yawning or growing budget deficit. President Aquino's election served as the gravitational center for the proverbial stars to align. Both the legislature and executive were energized to undertake some very deep and very long overdue reforms, including the Enhanced Basic Education Act, more commonly known or referred to as the K-12 law, the Universal Kindergarten Education Act, the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act, more commonly known as the RH law, and the higher sin taxes to improve government's collection and to fund universal health care, something that your incoming President, Billy Chavez, will be very much interested in as the Region 7 head or Chief Honcho of PhilHealth. This momentum began in the early years of the Aquino administration, continued in the second half of the Aquino administration, and I was fortunate to have moved from the bigger house to the upper house of 24 senators with your help and the people of Cebu's help. Between July 2013 and June 2016, 238 laws were enacted or signed into law by the President. 63 of these were about schools, renaming them, separating them, or establishing new ones. You don't really care about those. 15 were about creating regional trial courts. 20 were declaring various national holidays and celebrations. 3 were about renaming streets, avenues, and highways. Again, you don't care about those. 15 were about legislative franchises. 4 on government hospitals. 3 granting citizenship to foreigners. 18 creating satellite offices of the Land Transportation Office. And 3 on postponing the SK elections. Of the 238 laws, 64 had national significance in laying out new national policies or directions for the different agencies of government. Among the first laws passed was Republic Act 10635, designating the Marina or the Maritime Industry Authority as the country's single maritime administration. With this law, we prevented the blacklisting of up to 80,000 Filipino seafarers in the European Union. We also enacted the Seafarers Protection Act, known as the Anti-Ambulance Chasing Law, which sought to curb the predatory practice of lawyers and professionals capitalizing on high payoffs associated with seafarers' labor disputes. Again, with respect to health, the Congress passed the Graphic Health Warning Act, or Republic Act 10643. So, with apologies to the smokers in the room, you will in the future see on their backs rather gruesome but true depictions of the diseases caused by smoking, as you see them in other countries. Some studies have shown that this is a most effective tactic for dissuading would-be smokers, particularly those below the age of majority. Some will be undeterred and continue craving a nicotine fix, but the higher prices paid for cigarettes due to high sin taxes will also help government to expand the scope of its health programs, because, as I mentioned earlier, the sin tax is now intimately linked to PhilHealth through Congress, through Republic Act 10645, where it is now mandatory that senior citizens be automatically covered at government's expense. Today, even though you're a 65-year-old Marlboro man, government has you covered. And also, we have worked to keep people safe during times of disasters, passing the Pag-asa Modernization Act, which allocates up to 3 billion for more Doppler radars and monitoring equipment. We also passed a law which mandates all telecoms companies to send free mobile alerts whenever required by Pag-asa, PhilVox, and the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council, meaning free text during times of disaster. That's now a law. In May 2013, we allowed the infusion of foreign equity into our rural banks in anticipation of the integration of the ASEAN Economic Community. A little more than a year later, we permitted the full entry of foreign banks to our banking system. 4 have already come: Cathay United Bank, Industrial Bank of Korea, Shinhan Bank, and Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, drawn in to capitalize on the investment grade ratings of the country. We provided for better competitive environment for our businesses. We've passed the Foreign Ships Co-Loading Act to lower the cost of shipping among domestic ports. We've passed the Philippine Fair Competition Act, which puts teeth into the country's current antitrust laws and better assures a level playing field for anybody who wants to do business in the Philippines. There is now a test case, which is the recent buyout of San Miguel Corporation's telco assets by Smart and Globe. Another important achievement of the past Congress is that it has promptly and judiciously passed the national budget on time. No reenacted budgets, as in past administration. And each budget has increased allocations for health, education, and important social spending like the 4Ps program. So every year, the budget is growing and services are growing, important services for our people. The transition of power on June 30 also marks the midpoint of my first term as a senator. Hopefully, I'm still considered among the new blood in the Senate. Sabi nila si Senator Tito Soto, kung ikukumpara sa isang musikero, siya po ay si James Taylor dahil 67 years old na po siya. Si Senator Juan Ponce Enrile, si Tony Bennett po, dahil siya ay 89 years old. Sana hindi nyo kukontrahin na ang inyong lingkod ay mala Michael Bublé o Justin Bieber po. Anyway, if anything can be said about the first half of my first term as a senator, I would say it's similar to the recent NBA championships. We may not have had to come from behind, being down 3-1 to win the series, but there were many surprises and many unexpected twists that made things challenging. Effectively, we chaired 5 committees in the Senate because one of our colleagues in an unprecedented event had to undergo detention because of the scandal regarding the PDAF, or the Priority Development Assistance Fund. So we had to chair the Labor Committee, which was formerly chaired by Senator Jinggoy Estrada, and we came up with a lot of reforms for our job market. We were able to pass amendments to the PESO law, which mandates that each city, municipality, and barangay should have a public employment service office to assist constituents in finding jobs. We passed the Philippine Green Jobs Act, which provides incentives to companies who generate green jobs, or jobs that help protect ecosystems and biodiversity, reduce energy, and adopt high-efficiency energy efficiency strategies. We also passed a new charter for the OWA, or the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, and ensured that there are reforms also to strengthen the National Labor Relations Commission, or NLRC. We also passed, I noticed that a lot of the Rotary activities during President Bernard's term, and I assume also during President Billy's term, would deal with education, and a lot of the reforms passed by Congress were in education. We passed the Open High School System Act, the Distance Education Law, Ladderized Education Act, which ensures that those who take vocational degrees can move very easily into college degrees or four-year programs without losing any credits. We passed the Unifast law to increase the number of college scholarships. So hopefully we'll have better graduates to work for your companies in the coming years. Many reforms, including in tourism. We passed the Farm Tourism Development Act to take advantage and to disseminate the value of agriculture in Philippine development and to entice more Filipinos to take an interest in our agriculture. We reformed a lot of the laws, the outdated tax laws. You'll probably be interested as businessmen. As mentioned by Board Member Miguel, we increased the bonus from 30,000 to 82,000. So now you can pay your employees up to 82,000 tax-free in 13th month pay and bonuses. So it's like you're giving them a raise without additional outlay because of the additional bonus that we've given them. And hopefully, with the help of the incoming Duterte administration, we will be able to have a better income tax regime for corporations and for individuals. I was in Davao a few days ago, where almost practically every cabinet secretary of the Duterte administration was there with all the major industry and business groups at the Sulong Pilipinas Business Summit, 2 days, where the Duterte administration presented their 10-point economic agenda for review and comments from the businessmen, and it seemed that the businessmen were happy with the results of the summit, and there is a need to sustain the reform momentum started by President Aquino and improve as much as possible on the outgoing Aquino administration's performance. So one problem which was highlighted was the problem of infrastructure. I do commend Cebu City and its Cebu province for ranking as the third most competitive city for highly urbanized cities and the third most competitive province in the country, as rated by the National Competitiveness Council, or NCC, which includes the LGU's quality of infrastructure in its criteria. But nationwide infrastructure continues to be one of the most urgent challenges, or the biggest challenges and the dampeners of our global competitiveness. Thus, the Duterte administration's prioritization of infrastructure projects is definitely welcome. Incoming Budget Secretary Benjamin Diokno, formerly of the UP School of Economics, even emphasized that the plan to raise infrastructure spending to as much as 6% of gross domestic product, or GDP, is definitely on the cards, and there would be no underspending on his watch. Of course, there is the newly created Department of Information and Communications Technology, the ICT, which was signed by the President last month, and hopefully this will improve the country's internet performance. We're either last or second to the last in terms of internet speed, no? So hopefully that's one whole aspect of the economy, the world economy, that we have not yet exploited to the fullest. Also included in the Duterte administration's 10-point agenda was its commitment to boosting ease of doing business across the country, which should appeal to many of you here. Speaking to small to medium-scale entrepreneurs, whether foreign or local, many have mentioned that our country poses numerous road humps in terms of establishing businesses. Despite many initiatives in expediting regulations, in opening and running businesses, the Philippines still lags behind our ASEAN neighbors. We ranked 103rd according to the 2016 Doing Business report released by the World Bank, behind our ASEAN neighbors like Singapore, who was number 1, Malaysia was number 18, Thailand was 49, Brunei was 84th, and Vietnam 90th. So we are, again, near the bottom of the list in terms of ease of doing business. And I'm happy to have seen that on the Duterte administration's 10-point agenda. Sustaining this necessary momentum is only possible through critical collaboration between the different branches of government. We were able to accomplish much in the 16th Congress because all sides collaborated and banded together behind the goal of making the Philippines stronger and making our people more prosperous. Again, we'll need to work together to make our fast economic growth more inclusive. With a renewed focus on agriculture, Secretary Sani Dominguez, who's now the incoming Administration Secretary of the Department of Finance, was a former Secretary of Agriculture under President Corazon Aquino, and he knows the importance of agriculture to the overall economy and the need to grow rural businesses. We will need to work together to resolve problems like contractualization and to promote well-paying jobs. We need to work together to ensure that the proposed changes to our Constitution, including the proposed shift to federalism and the relaxation of limits of foreign ownership, redounds at the end of the day to better lives for our Filipinos. Clearly, President Aquino and President Duterte are two very, very different personalities. They come from different political camps and employ very different leadership styles. Some of us may favor one, some of us may favor the other. But what I'd like to emphasize tonight is tapos na po ang eleksyon. It should no longer be an us versus them affair or them versus us affair. Now, we're all in the same boat together. As the Aquino administration enjoyed smooth passage of many reforms due to our support, it is only fitting that we extend the same support to President Duterte and his incoming administration. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank you again for inviting me to speak before the club, the second oldest Rotary Club in the country, such an illustrious history with 2 former mayors of the city of Cebu and many pillars of the Cebu business establishment here. Nagpapasalamat po ako ng taos-puso sa kanila. To your outgoing President Bernard Sia, thank you very much, sir. And to your incoming President Billy Chavez, who is well known to us in the Senate because he worked there before moving to Cebu in 1998. So I think, Billy, as long as you adhere to our fraternity tenets of being a leader, a scholar, a gentleman, and a warrior, then we have no problem. I think you will really take the Rotary Club of Cebu to new heights. You will be respectful of tradition, but also conscious of wanting to write a new illustrious chapter in the history of the Rotary Club of Cebu. So maraming salamat, and I wish you all a very productive year, and I thank you again once more for inviting me. Thank you very much.